Welcome back to the Motion Podcast. Today, we're talking about how to build a routine that actually sticks, how sometimes it's hard, but it doesn't always have to be, why sustainability matters, and what you can do for a healthy lifestyle in the long run. So whether you're starting out on your fitness journey or wanting to change it up, this is something for you. So let's get into it. So first of all, what is your goals and what are you actually wanting to achieve with your fitness routine? It can be literally anything. If you're someone who's just beginning, find a routine that actually works for you for now. And if you want to change things in the future, you can. For example, if you're someone who has never trained in their life and they want to start going to the gym, going 5 days a week might not be realistic for you right now. Can you only start with 3? Because to be honest, your first week or first few weeks in the gym are probably going to be your most taxing and the most sore. So if you can overcome those first few weeks of training, you basically beat the hardest part. So having goals and understanding your why and why you want to train is going to definitely keep you wanting to come back to the gym and keep you training. And yeah, just having that sustainability of being like, cool, right now I can only train 3 days a week and seeing where it goes from there, because sometimes going too hard at the start can actually push you back from your goals, because then you start to beat yourself up because you're thinking to yourself, oh my God, I can't actually do this. So doing something that is sustainable, first of all, is going to be the biggest game changer for you. So just remembering that progress takes time. So it's not going to be anything that you do is never going to be linear. So making sure that you show up for yourself on days that are difficult, but knowing also when to pull back, which is something that we will talk about. Then it comes down to finding what works for you. So this kind of ties in to what your goals are. So this might be for someone who actually might be training for a long period of time, because you won't really know until you've kind of been training, I would say, for at least 6 months to a year. At least sticking to a consistent routine, you'll find out what works for you and what works best for you. But let's say, for example, you've been training for years and you just don't really enjoy your routine anymore. That is okay for you to want to change your routine and want to do something different. So for example, my routine, I used to train 5-6 days a week and I pulled back to 5. Was recovering a lot better, but I was still quite tired. I wasn't sleeping very well. Then I pulled it back down to 4. I still felt very good training 4 days a week, but I still felt a little bit off with my routine. Then I pulled it back to 3 days of training. I was recovering a lot better. I was getting stronger. And I also just included Pilates in there as well. So I think Pilates gets a bad rap, but for me personally, I only do 30-40 minutes of Pilates, and I find that it helps me slow down, reconnect with my body a lot more. Helps me slow down, reconnect with my body a lot more. It's good for your core and all that as well. So I find that a really good balance and a really good mixture. So for me, it's all about strength training. I've also got Pilates and I've also got yoga in there as well. So those 3 things I kind of turn towards. I kind of use yoga as a way to slow down, really reconnect with my body. All about finding that routine that actually works with you and something that you can stick to. So for me, I found that a good balance as well. So that is a good balance for me. So it's finding what works best for you. You might not even enjoy Pilates. You might actually want to train 5 days a week. That's completely fine. So yeah, find something that works for you and make sure that you're not going off what everyone tells you to do online. I could sit here and say this is what works for me, but it might not work for you. So for example, what you see online, trends, all these trends going around and people following all these trends of oh, I'm only going to go to Pilates now. Okay, you're only doing Pilates, but now you're missing out on strength training, which is going to help build your muscles and help you, build more sustainability. I think everyone should do some sort of strength training, whether that's twice a week. It's really up to you. But I still think I still think you need strength training for the muscles, your metabolism and stuff like that as well. Only reason why Pilates works so well for most people who drop strength training completely is because they're lowering their cortisol so much, because it's such a light movement. And that's why I incorporate some Pilates in my routine, because it helps reduce cortisol. It's very light movement. It's not very taxing on your body or nervous system. So that is why I'm doing that. But yeah, so just for example, Pilates, people who just cut Pilates out, people who cut strength training out completely, they lose a lot of inflammation, and that is why they look the way they do, because they're just getting rid of so much stress in their bodies. And I think that's why people think I don't need to do strength training anymore, but I still think you need to incorporate both as well. So that's why I say don't listen to what everyone else does. Find what works well for your body. If you do enjoy Pilates and you don't actually like strength training at all, that is still some form of movement. You're using like dumbbells or you're doing the reformer, still super good for your body. But yeah, do whatever works best for you. I'm not telling you to do strength training, but I still think strength training is very, very important if you want to build muscle. And I guess that's where you find the balance between making sure that you balance your like challenge. So you're balancing challenges and you're also balancing like the lifestyle. You're enjoying it as well. So finding a balance between both is really important, I think, because you still want to challenge yourself. We still want to grow as human beings as well. And then adapting to like lifestyle, adapting to stress, adapting to work life is very, very important, I think, because like a lot of people will be super stressed, they won't sleep very well, and then they wonder why their training's really shit. So if you're training like 5-6 days a week and your training's horrible, maybe it's time to rehab, or maybe you might experiencing hormonal issues. Maybe it's time to have a look at like, okay, where can I pull back from? What can I do differently to manage my stress a lot better? So stress definitely impacts the way you show up with your training and all that as well. If you're really, really tired and that. So yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it. Are you stressing your body out? Are you overtraining? Are you underfueling? Are you tracking your macros? Do you know how much you're eating every single day? Those things are an important component to your fitness journey that a lot of people don't understand. You could be training 6 days a week. It might work for a short amount of time. You might be overtraining, under eating. That will work for a short amount of time, but in the long run, it's not going to work. So finding something that is sustainable, like I said, because for me, I was overtraining, undersleeping, like pretty bad, and lost my cycle. And yeah, so for me, pulling back was pretty much the only option, and focusing on stress and lifestyle and mindset. So take that into consideration. Are you sleeping all right? Are you not sleeping? What is something that you can do daily to remove some stress in your life as well? Are you training too hard? Things like that, or accumulate stress in our body. And if we don't have a healthy way to release stress, if we don't actually find ways to deal with stress, we're going to accumulate all the stress in our body, and it's going to hold on to the stress as well. So body scans, meditation, doing all those things, like I said, what works best for you. But if you're feeling like quite sore, quite tense all the time, maybe it's time to have a rethink of where you're expending your energy and where, I got so many voice cracks today. This is not good. But finding out where you're expending your energy and finding out where in your routine can you start pulling back from. That really helps with staying motivated. So I think for a lot of people who are just starting out, it can be really challenging to find motivation to get things in. So think of it as like an appointment. So if you have an appointment, you're going to show up to the appointment. So think of it as like an appointment to yourself. Sounds quite dumb, but like think of it as like you make an appointment to yourself to show up for yourself an hour a day. And yeah, I think that's really, really cool to kind of navigate it that way and think, okay, this is the appointment I'm showing up to. This is how I'm going to show up today in my life. And this is what's going to make me at least 1% better today. And like I said before, like those kind of things that you do to kind of help with the lifestyle, all these stresses and stuff like that, it really helps you stay more motivated because you're avoiding the burnout essentially with your body. Like if you're accumulating a lot of fatigue, like over weeks and weeks, and you take a day off and you're like, okay, I feel good today, and you go back into it, and then all of a sudden you're feeling tired, you're feeling burnt out again. Maybe, like I said, rethink your training and all that, and that's how you can stay motivated in your training as well. If you're constantly fatigued, tired, you're not sleeping well, maybe there's something else you have to address, or if you have pulled back training and you still feel the same, maybe it's a lifestyle factor. But yeah, having a rethink of, where you are at in your life as well. So the next point I want to touch on is like nutrition and recovery. So kind of like I said before, are you overtraining? Are you under eating? So maybe it's time to have a look at maybe tracking for a little bit. So not just like tracking everything to the gram, but maybe tracking your protein and seeing if you're eating enough carbs and fats as well. So everyone should be aiming for at least their body weight in fat. And your protein should be 2 times your body weight. So for example, my protein's like 140 right now. So I usually do, 2 times whatever my body weight is. So I just do 2 times my body weight, and that would be like 140 grams of protein. Making sure you're hitting your protein, which I think is what most people know, I think most people already know this, and your carbs as well, should making sure that you're eating enough carbs to fuel your workouts, having carbs before you train, having carbs after you train. If you don't like eating before a training session, I would suggest just having like a banana or something quick and easy to digest. If you're having it like right before you train and you feel sick, I would just suggest having it 30 minutes before. It's going to make a huge difference in your training, and you're going to notice you don't notice the benefits until you do it. If you've always been someone who trains fasted, you're never going to notice the benefits of actually training with proper nutrition if you don't actually do it. So fueling yourself properly before a training session, making sure that you're getting in enough carbs, and making sure you're getting enough protein throughout the day. If you struggle with protein, I would suggest breakfast, lunch, and your dinner have 30 grams of protein in those meals, and then having your snacks with at least 20 grams of protein. So I think that should at least equal 120 grams of protein, which for most women I think should be fine. But at least you're getting like 120 grams of protein a day. It's going to help with your recovery, muscle mass, all that as well. So if you never tracked before, maybe it's time to have a think about maybe tracking for a little bit, not getting too obsessed with it, because that can also create more stress in your day as well. Just tracking for a little bit. So for example, I have tracked for 4 years, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Whoa, I've tracked for like nearly 6 years. Yeah. So you can see how that can, accumulate a lot of stress in someone's mind, and from tracking from such a young age, from 14, how that can ingrain into my life for a long period of time. So that's kind of like all I ever knew. So learning to trust myself to not track has been very, very hard. But for example, I'm really tracking protein right now because that is still something that I can keep on top of. And if you're someone who struggles with tracking, you don't really like tracking, I would just suggest tracking your protein if that's something that you want to do. So I just track my protein right now if I'm hungry, making sure I'm eating enough fats and carbs, and making sure I'm having balanced meals with fiber and stuff in them as well. So really good to just kind of see where you're at. Are you overtraining? Are you really hungry? Is that another sign as well? So making sure that is all good. And I guess this really helps with the mindset side of things as well. If you're really food focused all the time, you're probably not eating as much as you think you are. If you're always tired and all that as well, it can be really, really making yourself a good plan of what you're doing and really changing the mindset around your training and all that too, because there's going to be times where you have setbacks. Like, I can't tell you like, okay, I've been training for like 5-6 years, whatever, but 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Yes, I've been training for like 6 years. So, I feel like a lot of my journey now is unlearning old habits. So I feel like for most people, it can be quite hard to kind of hear like, okay, maybe my training isn't like, maybe I am training too much and stuff like that. So for me, it has been really trying to unlearn old habits and stuff to really be like, okay, maybe I don't need to track as much as I used to, or really trying to trust my body again, and realizing that you have periods of life where you should track, you have periods of life where you shouldn't track. Right now I'm in a period of life where I don't really track anymore. And I kind of have a lot of more freedom, I guess, with that as well. Like, I'm not always constantly thinking about food. So like, what is your relationship like with food? Really getting down on the mental side of things, because a lot of people think it's all physical, but your health journey is something that I think is more mental as well, because that mental component is going to keep you in it for the long run. And if you're not looking after your mental health as well, then you're going to really suffer. Then you're going to really suffer in your training as well. So if you're not sleeping well, all this stuff, it can be really helpful to kind of just go back and kind of see, okay, where can I pull back from like that? Yeah, really identifying like what kind of holds you back in your fitness journey, all these things. So for me, it was like, I cannot get results unless I track. So I was like stuck tracking for so long because I had to control it, which only accumulated more stress in my life as well. I told myself I had to train 5-6 days a week because that was going to keep me healthy. I had no period for 4 years. So clearly, Malaya, that was keeping you fucking healthy, wasn't it? But yeah, so basically having a rethink of like what you're doing, and okay, do I feel 100% myself right now? Do I feel like I could Do I feel like I need to have a rest day? Asking yourself these questions, and maybe you might need to just do something that's a little bit slower for a little bit to kind of get yourself back on track. Having a week off training isn't going to do the damage that you think it is. And for me, training 3 days a week, I'm a lot less sore. I feel a lot better mentally because I'm not having to think about training all the time. And the Pilates, it really helps me slow down and stuff like that as well. So yeah, having a good mindset around your training, your food, and all that as well. Because if you're constantly telling yourself, you have to do this to get results, you're going to always think like this, and it only creates more stress, and it only leads to burnout in your body as well. So yeah, that's why incorporating some low impact movements or incorporating stress relieving activities can really be beneficial, I think, for practically everybody. It doesn't have to be a meditation. It can be yoga. It doesn't have to be yoga. It can be breath work. It can be like a 5-minute breath work reset, like stuff like that. Really getting in tune with how you feel every single day is really, really important. And I think that's a part a lot of people neglect in their fitness journey because they think it's all physical, when in reality it's how you feel inside as well, because you can't feel good inside, and if you hate yourself, you can't feel good internally, and it will show externally as well. So making sure you feel good internally and stuff like that. So that kind of goes to the next point of making sure that you have a good community, making sure you have a good group of people around you as well. If you're someone who really struggles with a routine and you kind of feel like you get influenced a lot by the people around you, but you want to make changes, maybe it's time to take a step back and kind of have a look at who you're surrounding yourself with. Who are the people in your life that you're surrounding yourself with? Are you constantly drinking every single weekend? Do you not want to drink anymore? Are you constantly getting takeout? What are small habits you can change every single week to kind of get yourself into a new routine? I'm not saying ditch your friends, but I'm saying have a real good think of the people that are in your life, and if they are beating you down all the time, you're going to obviously think that's how you should be treated as someone, as a person. So making sure that you have a good network around, making sure that maybe you do start going to gym, maybe you I don't know, you have a new gym community now, maybe you can start training with someone. So making sure you even find a gym buddy, find someone that you can go to the gym with, or find someone you can do something with, and see if you like it, and see if you actually like going to the gym, see if you like Pilates, see if you like all these things, see if you like running. It's not just about slowing down. It's about finding a routine that works with you. Do you like training hard? Do you like running? Do you like doing all these things? It doesn't have to be strength training. It can be strength training and running. It can be strength training, running, and Pilates. Doing those things, but having a good mix up. So it's not okay, I'm going to strength train 5 days a week. I'm going to run 3 days a week. And then I'm going to do Pilates as well. It's not going to work. So maybe it's strength training 3 days a week, and maybe it's doing 2 runs a week and then doing yoga. So maybe it's 3 strength days. You know what I mean? It can be anything. So finding a routine that works. So it doesn't have to be yoga. I don't know why I'm just referring it to yoga. Because I do it. So that's what I kind of refer it back to. But yeah, letting go of that mindset of being I have to do this a certain way, and trying to please everyone around you, and stop trying to please the people around you, because it's only going to lead you into more people-pleasing tendencies, and yes, it causes more harm than good. So figure out what you want to do in your life, and if that means losing people, are they really the people that you're losing? Are you really losing good people in your life if they're bringing you down constantly? You're constantly thinking about their needs and what they want. Can you not just take a step back and focus on what you need for a second, because you're the only person that you have at the end of the day, and you're the person that matters the most? So take a step back, have a rethink of, is this the thing? Is this where I want to be in life? Is this the path that I'm currently happy with? If not, then have a rethink of who the people you're letting into your life are, and rethink the energy that they're taking from you. The next thing goes into managing and dealing with setbacks. So if you're someone who deals with setbacks quite negatively, so for example, sleep is a big one for me at the moment, which I'm trying to navigate. So managing stress and all this stuff. What happens when you kind of get swooped into this negative field of being oh my God, I'm letting myself down. This isn't working for me. You kind of get swooped, you kind of just keep replaying this thought in your head of I should be better, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. That's only going to keep you stuck in this little pit of negativity. Yes, be angry, be frustrated, deal with the emotions at hand, and then think like deal with it for a little bit, sit with the emotion, sit with the feeling, and then be like, okay, what can I do to move forward, and let go of, okay, I was feeling good, but okay, this is where I'm at right now, and really trying to deal with the energy that you have right now and what you can do moving forward as well. So for example, it does happen to people, like they could be training, they injure themselves, and now they're out of training for like 6 to 8 weeks, or probably longer depending on the injury. So it's basically being like, okay, cool, I'm out for 6 to 8 weeks. What can I control right now? So you can control the rest, the amount of rest that you're taking. So controlling the rest. So cool, I'm meant to rest right now. That is what I can control. Let go of things that you can't control. So for example, going to the gym, doing like your runs, like that's not going to happen realistically for probably 6 to 8 weeks. So sit down with yourself and think like, okay, how can I do the best I can what I got right now? Cool, first week I was really sore. Second week, okay, how can I get a little bit more movement into me today? Does that mean focusing on a little bit more mobility? So remember, like, rejection is just redirection. So if you're kind of feeling like a little bit stuck, you're feeling a little bit lost, it's just redirecting you to something else. It's redirecting you to something better and trusting that things are going to get better as well. So redirection, and trusting that redirection is good, and trusting that you're on the path that you're on right now is going to make you better. So for example, COVID was probably the most time that people kind of had to really sit and think with themselves. So it really was a time for people to push themselves and move forward, and it really took them time to think. So think of it as like when you're injured or when you're resting, think of it as a time to reflect and kind of process what's going on, and then find a new way to move forward as well. So I think that can be really helpful for someone who's struggling in their fitness journey and trying to stay motivated. I think I talked really fast. I'm not too sure. Let me know. But yeah, so the takeaways for this would definitely be staying consistent. So finding a routine. So yeah, the final takeaways would definitely be finding a routine that you can stay consistent with. So doing things that work for you and your body, because it's your body. You need to listen to your body and what it needs, because otherwise it'll start screaming at you. So yeah, finding a routine that works for you and your body, making sure that it is something that you can stay consistent with for a long period of time, for your life basically. Making sure you're focusing on long-term results, not just the short-term, because long-term is always going to win over the short-term goals. So focusing on your long-term goals, focusing on being consistent. And last one I'd definitely say is having a good mindset, because mindset is everything when it comes to training, nutrition and everything. And that is also going to keep you consistent as well as having a good mindset, which is, I think, something that people neglect. So focusing on the mindset, not focusing too much on the results, focusing on how you feel, focusing on what's good for you and your body. And yeah, I think that's definitely something that everyone should be doing, is focusing on what works for them and what they need, not what everyone else is doing, and not following trends and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. I hope you learned something from this. If you did, let me know. I'd love to hear what people are doing. I've had heaps of messages from people already saying that the first episode was really something that girls were really inspired by. So that was really good to hear as well. But yeah, as always, remember, it's your journey, it's your life, it's your path. So do something for you that is sustainable, and do something that you enjoy and you love. So making sure that you make every single day count as well. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one with Miles.